Trojan Felly, what's up, man? USCJ here. It's the top of the morning. Listen, I hope everybody is getting ready to get up, get out, and make some things happen this morning. Listen, let me say Happy New Year to everybody. Listen, it's 2024, and it's going to be straight up go time. It's going to be on and popping. It's going to be on and cracking for 2024. USC football has so much to look forward to, and one of the things we're going to talk about is the Big Ten. This is going to be an all Big Ten national championship. You're going to have Washington in there, who USC play, and then you're going to have a team like Michigan in there. We're going to talk about that, the significance of that, and what does that mean as it relates to USC. You guys can hit me in the comments. This is the first podcast, the first one that we're doing since the 2024 has been into effect. So Happy New Year once again to everybody. So listen, what are some of the things that you guys took away from Washington versus Texas, and then Michigan versus Alabama? Number one, here's a couple of things that I took away. Number one is this: the monopoly situation is officially over. It's over for the SEC. You guys already know that the SEC has had it on a monopoly type of situation for a long time. And you guys know, once USC was sanctioned way back in the day, years and years ago, because of the Reggie Bush situation, we started seeing a turn of college football. We started seeing teams like Florida come up to play in the play. We started seeing Alabama come up in the play, and Alabama used to be lost in the sauce. And then, of course, you guys see the emergence of Georgia. And as a result, you know, the Pac-12 and, of course, teams like USC had a long ways to go. It's just the way the system was set up. And you guys already know, we talked about how these teams are placed. Every year when you talk about the AP poll or the coaches poll, they put these teams up there and they structure it in such a way to where it was hard for certain teams to come up and to get up in the top 10 or the top 4. They had it positioned that way, just like the same way you've seen it with Alabama this year. And the committee thought they were going to do themselves a favor by putting Alabama, since they beat Georgia, over that. But listen, I told you guys this a while back. I said, when the transfer portal and the NIL, it makes parity. It allows parity to come and play. No longer are we going to see some of these crazy, just these all SEC championships. You guys remember LSU and Alabama were in the championship. They tried to do it was certain thing. It was strategic. It's a money thing. It's the good old boy system. And you know, I pointed this out when I very first started this podcast. I think I told you guys that we're going to see a shift in college football. That shift is officially here. Now, here's the crazy thing about this shift. The shift is going into all Big Ten, because now when we look at it, you look at Washington, Ohio State. Even though they were lost in the sauce the other day, they need to get their quarterback situation right. But so you look at all the teams that are coming right now in the from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten, and that's why I made a video just the other day. I said the Big Ten better be ready for the Pac-12. The schools that are coming, those 4 teams, those 4 teams that are coming. I'll just say the 3 teams. Those 3 teams that are coming: USC, Oregon, and Washington. Listen, man, they are going to put up some points. You guys see what happened in the national championship. The playoff game with Texas versus Oregon. Texas versus Washington. Washington just put up points at will. Listen, even USC put up more points than a team like Texas. Texas looks slower than Washington. And you just look at some of these schools that play, even the Oregon. I can't judge that, the Oregon versus Liberty, but you look at some of the schools that face some of these Pac-12 schools, and you look at Arizona did to Oklahoma. I mean, it's unbelievable. And these schools look, I mean, this year, I don't think we will ever see, and this is my opinion, I don't think we will ever see quarterback play like we've seen in the Pac-12, in the Big Ten, like we've seen in the Pac-12 this year. You look at Caleb Williams, of course. You look at him, he's dominated. You look at Michael Penix. You look at Oregon's quarterback, Bo Nix. You look at all these quarterbacks across the board, whether it's Karen Reiser for Utah. You mentioned Arizona's quarterback. Even before the one they have now, you had Jaden Delore. I mean, we've had so many quarterbacks this year. DJU. It puts so much stress on the defense. So when you see a team like Texas, who's supposedly supposed to cruise all around the Big 12, and then they beat a team like Alabama, you already know a team like Washington could beat Alabama. You know, even a team like USC. If we played the way we did and pushed the ball down the field, here's what I want you to go. This is the dynamics of football. When you push the ball down the field, it puts a lot of stress and when you get the ball out your hands quickly, it puts a lot of stress on defensive backs. The interior play, they don't have time to get to the quarterback. But when you're pushing it down the field the way Michael Penix was pushing it, we seen guys that was just absolutely flabbergasted. Man, they were lost in the sauce, and there was nothing they could do about it. And so that kind of brings me to a point, man. What do you guys think about the USC, the Big Ten school? Well, the Pac-12 schools now going into the Big Ten. I will say this. I think Washington is going to beat Michigan. I think it's the same dynamic. When you see a team like Texas beat Alabama, I think the same dynamic that we've seen with Texas versus Washington, they look like a totally different team. Oklahoma versus Texas, it wasn't even the same type of Oklahoma versus Washington. That wasn't even the same type of thing. Washington was absolutely air raiding down the field. They tried to give up the game the last few parts of the game, but Washington was absolutely air raiding that ball down the field. And so who do you guys think is going to win this national championship? I tend to think it's going to be a team like Washington. And I'm going to tell you why. Even though Michigan played a tough, hard-nosed football game, they ran the ball tough, I'm truly not impressed with their quarterback. I can't even imagine Washington not even really having to play, really guard the pass. They're going to have to, I guess they'll have to more so have the interior play more so with the running back. But other than that, the offense, the Alabama versus Michigan game, it was a good game, but it was bland offenses. The quarterback for Alabama, that offense did not impress at all. Can you imagine? Washington had their toughest struggle in the Pac-12 easily. No, I mean, anybody notices that. And so that's one of the things. And here's the other question I have. Do you guys look at our defense from a different perspective now? Not saying we get a full pass on the season, because USC should have won more games. USC beat themselves in a lot of ways this season. But do they get a greater pass just given the fact that the league was as heavy as it is? And you look at these other teams, they don't look like Washington. They don't look like the explosiveness. And you look at what the final score was with USC versus Washington. Was it 42-52 or something like that? We lost by like 10 points. And so, you just you feel better. If anything, you feel better coming out of the game, coming out from the Washington versus Texas game, and you look at the landscape of college football, you feel a lot better where USC is right now. And here's the other question I have for you guys. What do you guys think if Miller Moss is to be the quarterback next year? And that's provided we don't get anybody else. If Miller Moss is the quarterback, do you guys think what other quarterback right now, and this is going to lead me over to the Iowa lost in the sauce coach, because we're going to talk about him because he's completely lost in the sauce. Some of the statements that he made, and they got blown out by Tennessee in a bowl game. But where do you think Miller Moss right now will rank in the Big Ten for quarterbacks? Is he better than Ohio State? We could check that. That's a checkbox. That's a checkbox. Is he better than Penn State quarterback? That's a checkbox. We watched him against Ole Miss the other day. Is he better against Michigan quarterback? Well, he had 2,600 yards this year. J.J. McCarthy, he's pretty good. He's experienced. So I'm not going to give Miller the lead on that. However, I think J.J. McCarthy is leaving. I think he's going to go in the draft. And so will Miller be better than the Michigan quarterback? I'm going to check that. These are the few top teams. Is he going to be better than Maryland quarterback? Tua's brother, he's getting ready to leave. I'm going to check that. Is he better than Illinois quarterback? I'm going to check that. Is he better than Northwestern's quarterback? I'm going to check that. How many quarterbacks do you think a guy like Miller Moss right now, and if our offense played the way it did against a team like Louisville, the way it did the other day, how many teams do you think USC will beat coming up this season? Will he be better than Dylan Gabriel? Well, I'm not going to check that because Dylan Gabriel, coming from Oklahoma, is an experienced quarterback who threw for 3,600 yards. So I'm going to give him a pass on that. And Miller's going to have to come up. But does he have the potential? That's a whole nother story. Absolutely. Miller does have the potential to pass that and put up phenomenal numbers. He's not going to run around like Dylan Gabriel, but he will push the ball down the field. Is he going to be better than Washington's quarterback that's coming in? Washington has the quarterback coming from Mississippi State. So I think USC and Miller Moss can absolutely be better than him. Is he going to be better than UCLA quarterback? We don't even know who that quarterback is going to be. So I think if you guys look at it from this perspective, going into the Big Ten next year, I think USC should be in some very, very good shape. And the fan base right now should be very, very excited about what we're getting ready to see from the USC football fan base. Now, another thing I wanted to bring up was, you guys know a lot of people address the star system on here, the 4 stars, the 5 stars. And one of the things we talked about was USC is sitting right now at number 18 in the country as far as the star system goes. So with that being said, when you look at the games last night, you looked at Washington. Washington is not a team loaded with 5 stars. But one thing, like I told you guys before, is they got phenomenal coaching right now. The coaching is second to none. I kind of equate it to Utah coach. The coaching is great, and they got a great quarterback. And the quarterback makes everything go round. And if you have a great quarterback, and if you have somewhat of a talent, and you have great coaching, and you couple that all together, you guys can go out there and win some games. If you look at the teams that lost yesterday, Texas has major 5 stars all across the board. I heard names called out like Anthony Hill. You see Quentin Ewers. He was like the #1 player in the country when he came out. Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy doesn't look nothing like Washington receivers. He doesn't look nothing like USC receivers. But and it's no disrespect. I'm just trying to make a point of where USC is and where the talent level is as it relates to some of these teams that lost yesterday. Alabama has multiple 5 stars all across the board, but they didn't win. You see what Michigan did. So, and I said that to say that Michigan right now, I think USC is number 18, and then you got a team like Michigan that's I think they're number 17 or 16 in recruiting right now. So that's not saying we don't want to recruit to a high level, but what we do want to do is we want to be able to get the player that fits the characteristics of USC being a USC football Trojan. We want to get the type of player that's going to absolutely fit in the system of Lincoln Riley. And we want to recruit a quality player, a guy that could be developed. And I think if you look at the guys that we have right now, I think USC can absolutely be thrilled about the guys we got now. And we got a lot of 4 stars, believe it or not. For those who really just examine the recruiting rankings. And so you looked at Michigan, you looked at Washington. Those are teams not loaded with 5 stars, but they got 4 stars. Some got 5 stars. And I think you guys should really, really be thrilled. Now, another point that I want to make out is that, there was a lot of people talking about, the 6'2", 280-pound defensive rush end, he's a defensive end out of North Dakota. And I happened to watch the Michigan game yesterday, and I seen what's his name, Stewart, out of Coastal Carolina. You guys remember we wanted him? They got him listed at 6'1", 245 pounds, and he was absolutely just all over the place on that field playing against Alabama. His athletic ability, he's a rush in. They got him coming off the edge, and he's absolutely just balling out. And, he kind of reminds me actually of Jamil Muhammad. Jamil Muhammad standing at 6'2", 250. They got him listed at 250. I think he's 245, 250. So it's kind of like a similar size. But the way Michigan used that defense and used a guy like Stewart, listen, man, you guys don't get lost in the sauce as it relates to all the players. Michigan had some big players, but at the same time, they utilize their players that fit the scheme. Trust the process, trust the coaching staff, trust Coach Deanton Lim, and believe that USC is absolutely in some good shape. Now, I got to play this thing from this Iowa coach. He's absolutely lost in the sauce. I'm going to let you guys listen to this real quick. And real quick, I'm going to touch this before I close out of here. Let's take a listen to this real quick.
Hold that in my pocket until January for you. But what is important is wins per game. And if you want to evaluate a quarter, in my opinion, check the wins per game column, because I can think of a guy that entered the conference recently that came with widely acclaimed, offensive stats and all that.
Hold on. He said he's talking about Lincoln Riley, and he's taking a shot at Lincoln Riley. And you see his offense. This is the Iowa football coach. So he's saying he knows a guy that came in the conference recently, and he wants to basically score, but basically doesn't have no defense. Do you know how many let me let you guys finish listening to this.
And that's usually how those guys get to become well known, because of their, whatever they're doing, throwing it, running it, wishbone. But then you look a little deeper. So what's this guy's wins per game? And there's usually a correlation. People that just throw the ball.
Hold on. What's his wins per game? How about what is your win in the game, the bowl game yesterday versus Tennessee? It was 35-0. You need somebody to throw around points. You need somebody to put the ball in the air, and you are absolutely lost in the sauce. And that's why you're in a situation. You went 10-4 this year, but this is why it's even more so. And by the way, this was a freshman quarterback from California that just absolutely lit Iowa up yesterday. And so in Lincoln Riley's defense, he has the defense fixed now. And I believe it. I believe the scheme is working, is getting ready to come together. But the Iowa coach, for him to say this, he's absolutely – listen, you know, I'm going to do a segment on here. It's called the lost in the sauce moment. This is the lost in the sauce moment. Let's finish listening to him.
Around, you know, it makes it tougher to win. It makes it tougher to be on good on defense. I think Phil would tell you that. So there is a team concept here that is really important to me. It's the only way we can win, in my opinion. And come right back to it. I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, I bet you did lose your train of thought. You lost in the sauce. So look, man, you guys hit me in the comment section. You guys tell me what you think. Iowa coach is officially lost in the sauce, man. USC fans got a lot to be thankful for and a lot to move and groove to, man, as it relates to what USC is getting ready to do, man. So look, I'm up out of here, man. Listen, until later on, everybody stay blessed. Don't forget, make sure you get up, get out, and make some things happen. Until later on, fight on, fight on, fight on.